525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments, oh dear. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in strife. In 525,600 minutes, how do you measure a year in the life?
I may not live to see our glory.
I may not live to see our glory.
But I will gladly join the fight.
But I will gladly join the fight.
And when our children tell our story.
And when our children tell our story.
They'll tell the story of tonight.
I went to school with Mikey, elementary to middle school, and Mikey was someone you could always go to. He was there if you talked to him for the first time, or if you've been best friends for years. You could go, you could make all the trades. Oh, I'll give you this if you give me this for food. He was the supplier. You needed something. If you needed something, you went to Mikey, he'd get it done. He was the man. And he was the person that I could always talk to about anything. I only had him, sadly, for 1 year in my class, but every day he was there and you'd talk to him. He'd make you smile, he'd make you laugh, and when he wasn't there, the whole classroom energy was different. You could notice, and it'd make you a little bit sad. And it's just, Mikey is never going to be forgotten. He changed my life forever, and I'm very sad to see him go, but he definitely changed me for the better. I think one of my favorite times with Mikey was one time he decided he was going to build an EMP, and he brought it to school, and he turned it on, and bam, there goes the Wi-Fi. School slowed down, everyone had to figure out what happened, and Mikey was just so happy. He had the biggest smile on his face. And it was just so great being able to spend the time that I did with him. And just, I love Mikey. I didn't get to spend as much time as I'd like, but he'd always be there late night. You wanted to play a game, he was there. There's never a time he was offline. You could always play with him, and that's just what I remember about Mikey. 24/7, 365 days a year. He was there. You could talk to him. He would do whatever you needed to help you be a better person. And he will always be in my heart, and he was one of my mentors too.
Micah was one of the most brilliant and kind and funny people I've ever met. And he was very accepting of me. I met him in 6th grade. Him and Nick Randazzo, they were very accepting of me, and we did like almost everything together. And about 2 weeks ago, he came over to my house for about like 3 days. It was one of the most fun weeks I've ever had, and definitely a highlight of my spring break. And I'm so great that I was able to spend that time with him.
There also isn't anything I could say that would make it better, but I think Micah said it pretty well once himself. We were hanging out the whole day on Easter, and at one point we decided to ask each other some random philosophical questions. And at one point he made a comment saying he was glad that I could never take away any of the time I've already spent living. And I just wanted to say, same here. I'm glad we got to spend 10 years since the beginning of kindergarten bouncing in and out of each other's lives as friends. I'm glad I got to do silly, stupid things with him like climb on the roof of the old house or climb trees or do flips on the trampoline. I'm glad I got to see him in dreadlocks. And with that cool star shape shaved into his hair. I'm glad I got to practice doing a man hug last year at Annika's birthday party. I'm glad we stayed up super late one night watching scary movies together. I love getting to smile and laugh, and I loved getting to joke with him about the most random things. I loved getting to go rock climbing together. I loved when I went over to his house and I felt so comfortable there that I never knocked on the door before going in. I loved how he got along with basically everyone. I loved getting a message where he would put a colon and a 3 making a cat face. I loved having him in my life. And no matter how sad this has made me, I'm glad I knew him, and I think it was a privilege to have been his friend.
Micah Weinberger was one of my best friends. I first met Micah in 2nd grade, knowing him as the kid who always wore his helmet everywhere. I didn't know Mikey very well in elementary school, as our relationship only started to flourish at the start of 6th grade. We became friends in 6th grade, but the next year our friendship became even stronger, brought together through the mutual interest of the world in technology. Mikey and I had taught each other about many things, including chemistry, coding, video games, and so much more. I remember Micah teaching me how to do a backflip on his trampoline. It took a whole afternoon and many failed attempts until I finally got the trick. I was ecstatic, and Mikey was as well. His endless enthusiasm at helping others and seeing them succeed is one of the greatest qualities he had. He always saw the world in a positive way. Micah always encouraged me and everyone around him to try new things and to see them from a different perspective. During all the sleepovers and times we hung out, each time Micah would show me something new, like a TV show, a video game, a theory he thought up, or a coding project. Not gonna lie, every time, normally, when he and I started a project or an experiment, we either overcomplicated it or got off track and made it into a new thing. For example, one of my fondest memories of Micah is when we tried to make a game work, but we needed to get into his dad's router for it to function correctly. We didn't know the password, so Micah started on a project that lasted a couple of months, which was to hack the router. It took a long time, and once he had gotten in, with help from his dad, Arthur, both of us had completely forgotten why he had bothered to hack it in the first place. Micah Weinberger was a crazy, kind, overall amazing guy. He and I made so many memories together that I am and always will be extremely grateful for. I love Micah like a brother. You will always be a part of me. Thank you.
I know you're sad and tired, you got nothing left to give. You'll find another life to live. I know that you'll get over it.
My name is Delia McVeigh, and I had the great pleasure of being Micah's English teacher for too short a time, for just a semester. To Micah's family, as a mother, I want to say I am so sorry for your loss. And as a spokesperson for our brand new community here at MEX Mission Early College High School, I want to say that we cherished Micah so much. He was a blessing to us. He was a joy. He was helping to make our brand new school into a community. And he's going to live in our hearts for all the years to come. He was glue, he was a mediator, he was making the impossible possible. He made my English class flourish. He taught me new things about literature in conversation in a manner where he thought he was understanding my point when he was teaching me something brand new. And in those moments, I was awed by him, by his humility, by his brilliance, by his curiosity. And when the semester changed and he was no longer my student, I saw him every day greeting people with warmth and a smile, validating people, making people feel good. And out in the college classes, he was helping our students feel more brilliant themselves by helping them feel that it was possible to achieve these things that maybe they were afraid they couldn't quite do. Just all of this and more. He was one of the most amazing people I have ever known. And I've known a lot of young people. I've known thousands of students. And he was amazing. And we will miss him, and we cherish him, and he will live in our hearts. And we are so grateful to have known him.
Hello, everyone. My name is Allison Turner. I was one of Micah's and Annika's circus teachers. And I'm speaking on behalf of our whole circus family today. Micah will strongly be missed. I'm so happy that I still get to see you all the time, Annika. so happy. Micah is actually one of my standard inspiration stories for all of my students. I see Annika nodding her head. I don't know if you saw in the videos of him standing up and going backwards and putting his hands on the ground. I'm personally not responsible for that. That's my coach, Cheryl, but mostly it's Micah. Because he was not the most flexible, but oh my gosh, did he persevere to learn something. And every single time I have a kid come into my class who says, oh, I can't do that, I can't even try, and be like, no, yes, you can try. You can try because Micah did it. And it doesn't matter the end result, but Micah always tried. And he is, and still will be, one of our inspiration stories that we will use all the time. Cheryl, all of our coach, wanted to let everyone know that we are going to be offering a circus scholarship in Micah's name.
My name is Armando Lopez, and I had the honor of being just one of Micah's coaches at Wilcox High for wrestling. Micah was special from the beginning, no doubt. I recall when he came out for wrestling, we knew he was special right away. He stood out because of his great attitude and his fun spirit. At times it was goofy, but we all adored him for it. But he was also so genuine. Typically, when we think of the sport of wrestling, athletes show up with a certain attitude, but not Micah. He showed up with this infectious smile and just made it fun for everyone. He really changed our room. And that's what we all just love about Micah. We all know he's a great athlete, track, volleyball, wrestling, but that wasn't what made him special. It was everything he did when he wasn't competing that made us all care for him so much. Regardless of the success he had on the mat, he was special because he was always more concerned with the success of his teammates and the success of the team as a whole. At tournaments, he was more concerned with having to be there for his teammates and then being concerned for his own matches. As a coach, you know that could be challenging, but that's the type of person he was, and we love him for it. Whether it was win or loss, he was always smiling, which made the rest of us smile. It was these characteristics that made him so special. He was the one individual that impacted us coaches more than we could ever impact him. Michael, we miss greatly, and we are honored and blessed to have him be part of the wrestling family and to have him in our lives. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoyman, Micah's 8th grade teacher, and he mine. I first came to know of Micah through the eyes of Theo, also in my 8th grade class a few years prior, who brought him to the classroom as part of a show and tell kind of presentation. Theo escorted elementary school Micah down the ominous middle school alley into the classroom, put him up on a chair, proudly to display to our class. Micah didn't flinch, giving only a cursory roll of the eyes, as Theo proceeded to display the many features of this magnificent specimen. This is true. The hands, to tinker with, to make music, to type code, and to cheer for the underdog. The eyes, kind and perceptive, steady, insightful, and observant. The muscles, most obvious, and providing strength and agility and athletic prowess, always used for good. The mouth, giving voice to dry humor or some tidbit of sage advice, always speaking the truth. The head, steady and held high, smart as a whip, full of great knowledge and blossoming with imagination. His heart, the biggest heart, with limitless capacity for kindness and love. Theo, you are absolutely right. Micah was, then and always, a person worthy of adoration. He'll always be the kind of person we can put up on a pedestal and look up to.
I'm not much of a singer, but I do know the song. So I just ask that folks join in as they can, and if you know it, please sing along. It's 2 parts, and I learned this song at the NVC Family Camp in Washington State. I think it has an older heritage than that, but that's where I learned it. And I learned it as a song of people going out to sea and people coming back from harvesting fish. And so there was 2 songs they would sing, and they would, when they crossed in the water going out, they would sing one song, and when they were going back to their community, they would sing another one. So.
Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arrive.
My heart skips a beat every time I think of the reason that I flew out here. Not to see family or friends, but for my friend's funeral. Michael was more than a friend to me. He was more than just my neighbor, more than just that kid that lived across the street from me. My whole life, that was my best friend, Theo, his little brother. And for me, friendship goes beyond the word. It means blood. Theo is my brother, and Annika is like my little sister. And Micah was my little brother, and Micah's family is my family. I spent my whole childhood and teenage years with this family. Arthur and Roxanne always welcomed me into their home as if I was their own. They'd always open their doors to me when I didn't want to be at my own house. And then we would go out and play ball, skate, play video games, you name it. A lot of the times we would just sit around and talk because we didn't want to go anywhere. I knew Micah when he was a little child, maybe 2, 3 years old, struggling to keep up with me and Theo as we learned to skate, play basketball, among other things. But with this persistence, he got better than us at most things, which was one of his many brilliant traits. As well as his courage and persistence, the brain on that kid was one of a kind, amazing. Some of the things he did and came up with, I couldn't even picture engineers doing. For a while, I even thought he was an evil scientist. Sorry. Honestly makes me want to cry every time I look in the crowd and I can't see him with this huge smile he always had. It just pains me to know that he's gone. But I have nothing but good memories. For example, when we went out flying to the Palo Air Base and the pilot said that I was the only one old enough to fly the plane, but I refused to get in the pilot seat unless Michael was able to fly. And it was Michael's first time flying. He was ecstatic about it. He didn't care if the plane crashed or whatever. He just wanted to get his hand on the wheel. But yeah, I can speak about Micah for hours and hours, but I know there's plenty of guests that have other kind words to say. So finally, my condolences go out to Arthur and Roxanne, to the whole family, and may Micah rest in paradise forever.
I had the honor and pleasure of being their nanny for 4 years, and I was Annika, Theo's, and Micah's nanny. I met Micah when he was 2.5, 3. I was his YMCA teacher too, so I've been off and on with the family for many years. He kept me on my toes when I used to watch them. He tried to teach me War of Warcrafts with them, Theo and him. I had no clue what was going on. He was so amazing. I just love that little boy. I love you guys too. This is my husband too. He taught them Spanish. He came over to the house and was trying to teach them Spanish at the dining room table. And then one day we were coming to the house and the door was locked and we didn't know how to get into the house. And Micah and Theo, it was the funniest thing. They climbed on the balcony tried to break into the house, opened the sliding glass door, and walked down the stairs. The boy was, "Hey, you guys were crazy." And all the friends that came in, the door was always open. All the people that came and did the trampoline, the tricks, Georgie was always there. I had so many kids I was watching that I didn't even know. I'd be like, heard a knock on the door, people came in, I'm like, okay, here's another one. I was like, but he was amazing, loved. Take a deep breath. I love you guys.
My name is Jorge and I'm Brenda's husband. And I know this little guy since 2011. And I remember this day when Mike asked me about my haircut. I used to have a mohawk, right? So he was like, "Hey, dude, I want to do that style in my hair." I was like, "Hey, dude, you have curly hair. It's going to be really hard." So he asked me to take him to my hair place. So I asked Arthur if he would let me take him with me. This was at this place where only Hispanic people was in there. Nobody spoke English in there. Nobody, right? So we went there, and I told him, if somebody asks you, "You're my son," okay? So he walked in there, right? This guy with his big microphone hair, right? So we went in there, and he was like, "Oh, he's my dad." So everybody stared at me like. So he decided to do his mohawk with some stars on the sides. So, but that's some of the stories that I have with him. He showed me how to break in the house with Theo from the balcony. He tried to teach me how to do backflips. I was never able to do it. But he was an amazing kid. I will really miss him, and I love you guys.
Hi, my name is Donna. I'm a friend of the family. And when I met the Weinberger Manning family, I was an avid runner. So I dragged Roxy and the kids, the two younger kids especially, into running 5 and 10K races with me. Well, Roxy kind of fell out, and Annika fell out, but Micah took to it. And so he would always want to stay with me. And, you know, I'm a slow runner, and Micah is like lightning fast, but he wanted to stay with me. He was only 11, so he hadn't built up his confidence until he placed in his age group one time. All of a sudden, he realized he didn't have to just finish, he could win. So all of a sudden, he was taking off and leaving me in the dust. But then he wanted to train for a half marathon. And so I typed up a plan and had all his mileage he had to do each week. And Roxy drove her car and found a mile route, and he would go round and round and round the neighborhood training. So it came to half marathon day, and I said, "Micah, you've got this. Just run your race, and I'll meet you at the finish line." Nope, he wanted to stay with me. And I said, "Now, I can't talk. It's 13 miles. I can't talk." He's like, "That's okay. I'll talk." So we start in. We're running, and he's talking, and he has some theory, and I bring up something like to punch a hole in his theory. That lasted a whole another mile of explanation. Then he was getting bored, so he would run backwards and talk to me. And I'm like, "Really? You're running backwards and keeping up with me?" And then he would run circles around me. And we proceeded through this half marathon where he was just telling me about space and atoms and electronics. And we get to a quarter mile left. I said, "A quarter mile to go. You've done great." He's like, "Oh, I've got to win." And then he takes off and leaves me in the dust. So we had many, many good times running together, and I am going to miss that little guy a lot. And it was just such a joy to see his tenacity and his determination and his love for just exploring his own body and his own mind. So love to the family.
Every year in June, my family and I travel in time to a future world. It's the world of BNVC Leadership Program, where I first met Roxy 7 years ago. 2 years later, Roxy initiated the youth program to support parents in attending the LP summer retreat, and we all started to bring our kids there. This is where I met Micah and Annika. In my attempt to extend this experience of heaven on earth for me and my family, on last December, Shachar and I had the privilege of taking Annika and Micah with us to Idaho, where we met another LP-addicted friend, Anne, and her kids, and spent a whole week in a house together. 9 kids, ages 9 to 17, with 3 adults. Being in community with these kids during this week has been one of the most magical and joyful experiences in my whole life. I was so overjoyed that I wrote Roxy and Arthur daily emails, sending them pictures and reflections about my experience of their kids and how it enriched my life. Micah's presence was right at the center of this joy. Here are just 2 examples. In this dream world that we have co-created, we sat for every meal around the table together and had one conversation. Someone would propose a question, and we would go around hearing everyone's responses. I remember that when the question was, what is one thing that you appreciate about the person sitting to your left? Emma, Anne's daughter, said that what she appreciated about Micah was his capacity to care for everyone in the group and track people's needs. This might explain to you why Dana, my 10-year-old daughter, considers him to be one of her best friends. This quality of NVC leadership shined through everything Micah said and did during this week, and it had a profound impact on all of us. Another example. One day I got up in the middle of the night and saw that Micah and Ansel were still up and playing video games at 3:15 a.m. and that my 12-year-old son, Dandan, who stayed in the same room, was up as well. The morning after, I felt a bit nervous bringing this up with Micah and sharing with him my concern about the effect on Dandan. To my amazement, Micah responded with offering me a reflection of my concern. I didn't even have to ask for it. I was so touched and moved by the quality of understanding that I had tears coming up. We worked out a solution that honored all of us. He didn't give up himself, and he surely wasn't willing to drop what was important to me. Rumi helps me to end. Micah, you left ground and sky weeping, mind and soul full of grief. No one can take your place in existence or in absence. Both mourn, the angels, the prophets, and this sadness I feel has taken from me the taste of language, so that I cannot say the flavor of my being apart.
May the tide that is entering even now the lip of our understanding carry you out beyond the face of fear. May you kiss the wind, then turn from it, certain that it will love your back. May you open your eyes to water, water waving forever, and may you, in your innocence, sail through this to that.
Annika and Tali will be sharing a song called Eleanor Rigby. They want you to know that this was a favorite song of Micah's. He loved to perform this song. The sort of all the lonely people reference is not necessarily about Micah. We don't know that he was lonely. He seemed quite well communitied. And so we sing it because he loved it.
All the lonely people, where do they all come from? All the lonely people, where do they all belong? Ah, look at all the
I'm Caitlin, Mikey's older cousin, and my favorite memories with Micah would have to be at Christmas time. My sister and I couldn't wait to go to Grandma's house to spend time with Micah, Annika, and Theo. We would spend nights playing card games and enjoying each other's company. We'd play video games and argue about who's better than who, which led to wrestling each other until someone told us to stop in fear of the bed breaking. I remember one night when Micah and I built a fort out of the blankets and pillows we were supposed to be sleeping with, and chairs from the dining room while the rest of the house was sleeping. Micah and I talked about school and sports while we'd stacked pillows on top of each other. He told me about the races he would run and about his science classes. The interest that showed in his eyes and the way he would talk about these subjects made me think in awe about how smart and talented my little cousin is. Everywhere he went, there were smiles and a helpful attitude. He would do anything for anyone and wore his heart on his sleeve. I appreciate the insight Micah has given me and the family. Every time I think about him, there's nothing but good and happy memories. So my condolences go out to the rest of the family.
I'll express a memory from a couple Christmases ago. My daughters asked me what I wanted for Christmas. I said a pogo stick. Yeah, me, a pogo stick. They got me a pogo stick. Mikey watched me hop around like an idiot for a little bit. And then he looked at me and said, "Can I try?" I didn't know that Mikey knew how to play with a pogo stick. And he hopped on this thing, and next thing you know, he's bouncing around, no hands, he's going all over the place. Now I had already fallen. He didn't laugh at me though. He said, "Oh, you okay?" Hopped on the pogo stick and he did his thing. But that was Mikey. Mikey's just gonna do whatever Mikey wanted to do. There was no quitting Mikey. Mikey was a conqueror, period. Conquered whatever he set his mind to doing. That's how I'm gonna remember him. That happy kid, that conqueror. That little dude that was afraid of nothing, no one. Willful, as the old folks say. He was a willful child. That's Mikey. Smiling, happy, energetic, fearless, brilliant, ray of sunshine, possibilities, and achievement. Don't sit here and mourn and be sad and depressed because he's not going to want none of that happening. Instead, do these little random acts of kindness. Keep him in your memory, fond memories. And we're going to be okay because Mikey wants us to be okay. He wants us all to be okay. We got each other. All of us got each other. Hold on to that. Rest in peace, my little dude. Gone too soon, forever loved, never forgotten. I know you're watching over the family. Do you, little dude, till we meet again.
Good afternoon. I'm Lois, Micah's grandmother, the old lady in the family. On behalf of Milton, Micah's granddad, and the old man in the family, I want to say a heartfelt thank you for everybody sitting in this room today. It's amazing how much everybody knows Mikey for who he was. Loved him, cherished him, and had a special bond with him. And that's a good thing. So today, I would like everybody to accept 2 challenges from me. My first challenge is to fill your heart with joy. No more crying. happy memories, happy thoughts. Think about Mikey. Remember a few words that he said, not everything he said or did, but a few words that were special to you. Keep them in your heart. So every time you think about Mikey and you get sad, remember, I have this word in my heart that will make me happy to have known Mikey. I have 5 words that I will cherish until I die. The first 3 was, I love you. And this is what Mikey said to everybody he met. He looked at you with those piercing eyes, he hugged you, and he said, I love you. It melted your heart. The next 2 words were, well, actually. And when he said that, you know that he has sat down, thought about what he wanted to say, figured it out in his mind, and was determined to win whatever conversation that you were having. Okay? These are my cherished words. Find one, keep it in your heart, and be happy that it's there. The second challenge I would like to have is each and everybody do something that will keep Mikey alive. A good deed, a smile, a I love you. How could I help you today? And we know by doing this, he will be forever with us.
My name is Weinberger. I'm Mikey's brother. I've been going to school in Pennsylvania. I play volleyball there. And it's been like a week or a week and a half. When I got called into Matthew's office last week, Matthew being one of my school's deans, the last thing I could have expected to hear from him was that Mikey had passed away. Just the night before, my only worries were about whether or not my volleyball team would make the NCAA Division III playoffs. And we didn't. We actually lost in the first round of conference playoffs. But one of the first things that came to mind after this happened was to just check up on Mikey, see how he's doing. And it seemed like he was doing all right. We caught up on everything. We caught up on his favorite video games, about the hiking trip he was planning with his friends the week after. And there was no way I could have expected that a day or 2 later, Mikey would have been gone from this earth. And just the next thing I know, I'm back in Matthew's office hearing from first my mom and then from the dean himself that Mikey was truly dead. Initially, my first reaction was just total shock. I threw my bag across my dean's office and just started screaming. I was shouting and shit, and I was shouting and everything. It was just awful. We had so much left to accomplish together. And often, throughout this time, I keep thinking about, the what ifs. What if Mikey hadn't committed suicide? In a world in which this wasn't true, me, Mikey, and Annika, we were all going to grow up together. They'd get wonderful jobs. Mikey and Annika are just such brilliant people, so smart, and they had their lives set up for themselves. They're going to have, wonderful kids, have beautiful, partners, and I'd be the creepy old uncle. I'd come visit them. Go and play video games with their kids, just come to hang out, and, that was the dream. But now, as hard as it is for me to say it, we all just have to learn how to move on in this world without Mikey. That's the best thing we can do for him at this point, is just to keep him in our hearts and to continue to live our lives the best that we can. But, there's just so much to still admire about Mikey as we move on from this time. And just one thing that I can't help but adore about him was his determination to just do whatever he set his mind to. And anyone who lives in Santa Clara knows the skate park over at Fair Oaks. We call it Fish Banks around here. with the super tall vert ramp, it has to be at least like 2-3 times as tall as me, just goes straight down. And when I first started skateboarding with Mikey and Georgie, with our other friend Steven, a bunch of other guys, I was just like, all we did was we just go to the skate park like every day and just skate as much as we can, just get as good as we can. And like Mikey sucked. Like honestly, like, he couldn't do any tricks, like he could barely do an ollie, and I wasn't the best, but I was all right. Like, I could do tray flips, kick flips, but one thing that I couldn't help but just admire about Mikey was just his fearlessness. Just like when we first started going to the skate park and we were going down the ramps and everything, I was so scared to skate the quarter pipe. Like I was a little middle school kid, it was just so tall and steep. I just like peed my pants just looking at it. And Mikey, like he had to be in elementary school at the time. He just went down it like it was like it was no big deal. Like, and just one look into his eye, I could tell that, he was determined to do it, so he did it. That was in middle school for me, Mikey's elementary school. When I was in high school, Mikey dropped into the, 20-foot vert ramp. Like it was no big deal, as all the college and high school students, including me, looked on with awe. And that's just something we can all take away from Mikey. Like, when he set his mind to something, he just went and did it. And if you're gonna do something, just be like Mikey and just drop right into it. And probably the most endearing quality that Mikey held dear was his curiosity. Mikey was he was, as Georgie said, he was an evil genius. Like, he was always coming up with cool contraptions and gadgets in his room. I remember coming back from college after my first semester over winter break and looking into his room, I was amazed at all the contraptions and gizmos that he had come up with in just the one semester I was gone. He came up with he even had a homemade calculator in his room with LED lights that light up and everything, just circuit boards everywhere. I remember back when I was just we were both just huge avid gamers, and just so much so that we wouldn't even sleep at night. And my dad made it a habit to start turning off the internet at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. And I was heated at first, but then I was like, all right, whatever, it's 10 o'clock. But Mikey's just like, no. He hacked into my dad's router, and he made it turn off whenever he wanted. Like Mikey loved just learning about everything and everything there is to know about this world, and his tenacity to acquire new knowledge is something that I will only dream in seeing in myself someday. I remember him always bragging to me when I first went to college that we were gonna be in college together. Despite him being 3 years younger than me, he was going to college here, taking college level classes, and oh my gosh, that's something that, I could only dream in having myself someday. Just that love of learning. It's amazing, really. And while I don't know why Mikey did what he did, I know that the relationship that we shared, as well as Mikey and the rest of you, it was special. It goes deeper than just having the same interests or hobbies, the same friend groups. Despite him being my little brother, I really looked up to Mikey. And it's hard for me to say it, he's my little brother. The norm is for little brothers to look up to their big brother. I'm supposed to be this huge role model, which I'm not. I try to be, and I know Mikey looked up to me for some qualities, but really, it was a mutual relationship. We loved each other unconditionally, and it just felt so good to know that you could be someone's role model who you admired so much yourself. And I miss him more than ever. Looking into all of your familiar faces, it's just so weird not to see Mikey's face just right there with you all, smiling and laughing, talking to me about whatever he's interested in his, like whatever's captured his mind today. But I know he wouldn't want to see us all crying or anything. Like Mike and sad. Mikey loved all of us. That much is for sure. I don't know what was going through his mind, but I know talking to him the night before that before he did it, that Mikey loved all of us. And the best thing that we can do for him at this point is to keep his spirit alive and just cherish those qualities in each and every one of us, and to bring that in everything we do in our day-to-day lives. Just every day. Bring that love of learning, the determination to set your mind to do whatever it is you might want to do. I'm going to bring that to my team. When I go back to see them, I'm just going to be more determined than ever to work to be the best me that I can be for Mikey. Thank you.
Someday I'll wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dare to, oh, I can't hide. Someday I'll wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And the dreams that you dare to, oh, I can't hide.
He's one of the most kind beings you've ever met, just effulgent with kindness. And what I'd like to ask you to do for the next few minutes is share in trios one act of kindness that you would be willing to do. And if you don't know what that is yet, then you have an opportunity to explore. Commit to one act of kindness that you would do joyfully from your heart in memory of Micah.
This is the best song ever.
Mikey was dancing. He stops when I turn on the video.
Dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find
what you did.